work with Southeast College. I'm the training and design specialist there. As far as AI goes, I sort of fell in love with AI as a teacher. I was a teacher for 13 years in Regina Public, and I heard about AI, and then I heard, oh my God, AI is going to make my job easier. Okay, sounds good. I'll do it. So ever since then, I've been really diving in, writing a lot about AI, reading a lot about AI. I published an article called, remember what it's called, AI-assisted teacher wellness. It's a theory that talks about how using AI will increase teacher wellness. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. And then also I was the editor-in-chief of AI applications in teacher education. So I don't know if you asked people in my past that I would be talking about AI or any kind of technology, they would have laughed in your face, but here we are. So today we're going to be talking about AI in education and beyond. Can I just get a hands up? How many of you are involved in education in some capacity, whether you're a teacher or... Awesome, most of you. And then how many of you are more on like the industry side of things? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Great. More educators. Yay. You guys are going to understand me better. So, the QR code here is going to link you to this presentation. And at the end of the presentation, there's going to be some homework. So if you want to grab onto that now, you can kind of follow along, but that'll be up again at the end of the conversation. Fingers crossed it works. So that's me. I've been working at Southeast College for 7 or 8 months now. I was teaching for 13 years, like I said, in Regina. I've taught everything from grade 4 math to grade 12 visual art and pretty well everything in between. I was honored with the STF Arbos Award last year, and that was a big deal, and I am really thankful for that. Otherwise, I've kind of mentioned all of that stuff, so let's dive in. I'm actually going to have a sidekick today, and it is going to be ChatGPT. And so ChatGPT will be part of our conversation today. So show of hands, how many of you would say that you are AI literate? AI, not illiterate, AI literate. Learning. How many of you would... AI, perfect. How many of you would say like AI is just something outside of my world? Excellent. And then the rest of you, I assume, somewhere in between? Okay. So we're going to talk about, first we're going to talk about today and what the world is like today. We're going to start with education, and then we're going to look at how education and the woes in education are impacting our communities and impacting industry of all different types of industry, from tech to trades to business to a lot of different things. So teachers, I'm sure it's not, if you are a teacher and in education, I'm sure it's not a surprise to say that your workloads are growing, your class sizes are growing, your administrative tasks are growing, the demands for personalized instruction growing, the demands for documentation growing, and there are fewer adults in the building to support you. Would that be fair to say? Yep, that's one of the reasons why I got out of teaching, to be honest, because it's becoming untenable. It's becoming impossible. And then are you noticing that students are coming to school with more needs? Mental health needs, family needs, academic needs. And dealing with those students while also trying to deal with all of the other things, doing more with less. Sometimes our students don't get the type of attention that we want them to get. So talking about statistics on teacher burnout. So I am a statistic when it comes to teacher burnout. I would say the last 7 years I was on a train all the way fast-paced all the way to burnout town, and I'm still recovering from it. It's not something that can go away like this, especially if you're still in the industry. So let's ask ChatGPT just what are the statistics on teacher burnout in Canada? Just to see what they say. What are the statistics on teacher burnout in Canada?
Teacher burnout is a significant issue in Canada, with various studies pointing to concerning trends. While specific numbers can vary depending on the source, it's generally reported that a significant percentage of teachers experience high levels of stress, with many considering leaving the profession within the first 5 years. Factors contributing to burnout include workload, administrative demands, lack of resources, and the emotional toll of teaching. It's a complex issue that education stakeholders are working to address.
All right, thanks, ChatGPT. Couldn't have said it better myself. That is absolutely the statistics when we look at North America. Canadian and American teachers are not okay. And when teachers are not okay, our students are not okay, and our classrooms are not okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. See? Yeah. So the reason why we're looking at education and then beyond education is our communities and industry are a mirror of what's happening in our classrooms. So if we aren't able to properly educate our students, be there for our students, meet the needs of our students through no fault of our own, it is impossible for them to become workers in industry that are pushing economic growth, that are pushing innovation. And we are looking at workers who are also feeling the pressure to perform. Productivity rates have exponentially increased since 50 years ago in the 1950s. I'm stuck 20 years ago. And we are seeing workers spending long hours, just like our teachers, long hours, high stress, high demand. And we are finding that even workers outside of education are also experiencing high levels of burnout. They're also experiencing high levels of mental health issues. And the promise of, oh, no, not yet. So the ripple effect. Let's see if ChatGPT can explain the ripple effect. Please briefly explain the ripple effect from education to industry.
The ripple effect from education to industry is profound. Quality education equips students with essential skills and knowledge, shaping a competent workforce. As students transition into the workforce, they bring innovation, productivity, and adaptability to industries. This enhances economic growth, drives technological advancement, and fosters a culture of continuous improvement. Essentially, strong educational foundations lead to a more skilled and innovative workforce, benefiting industries and economies as a whole.
Thank you. So if our education system is so important to growing industry, growing business, growing economic development, we need to really pay attention of what's happening there. And when students don't get what they need in the classroom, they leave school with gaps, with skill gaps. And employers are finding that new graduates have significant skill gaps, whether it's in numeracy, literacy, 21st century competencies. We are seeing that our students are not graduating with the skills that we assume that they should be having. And again, that is not the teacher's fault. I like to think of it as if you were a firefighter and 20 years ago, your daily work, you had to put 2 fires out. You could probably put those 2 fires out really well. They're not going to start back up. You're going to make sure that you save everything around them. Now, the firefighter is putting 300 fires out a day. Is it the firefighter's fault that these houses are burning to the ground? No, because there's not enough time, there's not enough water, there's not enough resources to be able to get those fires out. And so we need to figure out, how can we fill that gap? How can we take what we have, all of the pressures that we have in our schools that are bleeding out into our communities, and how can we sort of balance those scales? I think AI, this is the promise of AI. I think that in education, AI is going to allow us to get our power back, is going to allow us to automate the things that we don't necessarily need to be doing, to take our lesson planning, to take all of our documentation, to take feedback, comment banks, grading in some scenarios. If we can take that and turn that into a fraction of what we do by using AI, all of a sudden now we have time. And time for an educator is the most valuable thing. Because when you are not behind your desk grading, planning, documenting everything, the administrative tasks that your principals are asking you to do, if you can do that from a 5-hour job to a 5-minute job, now you have time to work with your students. You're not behind your desk anymore. You're actually working with your students. You're building those relationships. You're not taking marking home. So now it's not impacting your families. You're not staying till 6 o'clock at night and pushing yourself. You're not going to be there at 6 a.m. You are able to take back the control of your workload and do what you want with that time. Now, it doesn't just mean you can invest more into your students. You can invest more into yourself and into your families. This has the potential to really have that work-life balance. And if you are an educator and you are able to be healthy and happy and you enjoy going to work because you know it's not going to beat you down and you know you're going to get out of there before the sun goes down, you are going to be a better teacher. Your students are going to be better students, and your community is going to be healthier and happier. And if we look at all of the things it can do, it can automate repetitive tasks. And when you automate those repetitive tasks, you're lightening your cognitive load. And so you're putting less mental stress. And so you have that mental capacity to do any other things, even to build that relationship with the teacher across the hall, because that is still a super important part of the workplace. It personalizes learning like that. It enhances your accessibility. So we're seeing students who have higher learning needs, who are coming from non-English speaking countries that have their own language needs and their own mental health needs and academic needs. It's going to support teacher wellness, improve student feedback, et cetera, et cetera. So you might be thinking, okay, great. I'm not a teacher. So what happens in the classroom, that's wonderful. But again, that ripple effect. So looking at when the scales are balanced in the classroom, the impact on students is they're getting more of your time. They're getting targeted support, things that they actually need. They're getting engaging lessons, and they might enjoy coming to school a little bit more. They are learning 21st century skills that are going to help them in all the parts of their lives. And then in the impact on the community, you're going to have a better prepared workforce. You're starting to close that skill gap. You have increased equity, so fewer people in your communities are going to be in need because they're going to have the education that they need. You have a well-educated population. A well-educated population equals economic growth and innovation. And when you have healthy communities and healthy students, you have healthier and happier communities and workplaces. And speaking of workplaces, I see the office, the business world, as a mirror of the classroom. Workers are seeing, again, the productivity demands are huge. The paperwork, the administrative tasks, huge. The expectations, the competitive nature of businesses now. AI can balance those scales as well and meet the demands of an everyday person in their workplace. So you're gaining efficiency gains through automation and support in time-consuming tasks. That reduction of cognitive load. You're shifting your focus from small, inefficient details like, oh, how do I word this email? Or, laboring over, like, how do I phrase this in the policy? That all of a sudden doesn't matter. You can actually take that mental load and that energy and that time to do things that AI can't do. Strategize, be more creative in your job. You're able to have enhanced skill development. AI is a really great teacher. You ask it and it'll tell you, and if you ask it, explain this to me like a 5-year-old, it sure will. And making Excel documents, I have to do that quite often. And it'll find editing and finding errors. It helps you make better decisions. It really produces higher level work because you can only do what you can do. So the zone of proximal development, you're looking at what can I do to my maximum without any support, is like this. As soon as you add support, which could be a mentor, it could be a coworker, but we know that they're also under all that pressure. So we can't always go to our supervisor and bounce ideas off of them because they have their own stuff that they are stressed about. Now ChatGPT enters the chat and we can start to brainstorm together, and all of a sudden what we can accomplish is exponential without another human being on your terms. So the quality of work and the speed of work is light years faster than without. And targeted solutions that are very specific to your job needs. So you throw in details and it will give you a bunch of different answers, and you can pick and choose and decide what makes sense for you. Hold on, I think there was a statistic that, whatever, it doesn't matter. So why does this matter? Well, I think it's fairly obvious, but there's a reduction of stress and mental fatigue for your employees and for you as an employee. Increased productivity, again, leading to that work-life balance. And if you leave with anything today, leave with the idea that the promise of AI is to give you back your life. And to me, that is like, we're going to talk about the issues with AI, but to me, that outweighs any of the issues that we can find. You can go and do more meaningful work. Am I done? No. I don't know the statistics on this today, but Google used to be maybe still is, a really wonderful company to work for. And part of the reason why people really like to work for Google was because in some scenarios, they gave you 20% like passion project time. And so 80% of your job was your job, but then they said, take this 20% and play with it and innovate and be creative and problem solve and do something that's you're passionate about, connected to like our strategic plan or our goals. And productivity went up. Retention, they were able to retain their employees, and their employees were coming to work and they were doing meaningful work that mattered to them. Even if some of their job kind of sucked, they knew that they had that 20% that they can focus on and they can do something that really truly matters to them. Imagine in your work if you had 20% of your time to do something that you really believed that was meaningful, and how much happier you would be at your work. With AI, this is possible. I think it's also very possible to take AI and open up the potential of the 4-day work week, because you are doing far more than 5 days, more like a day extra of productivity when you're using these tools. Um, you're having better decision making, cost savings, and the impact on the community, economic growth, reduced inequality, stronger workforce, and again, that improved quality of life. Now, some of you might have heard, well, AI is going to take my job, and like AI is going to take us out of work. That's not going to happen. But what will happen is people who can use AI, they're going to take your job. So by learning how to use AI and being AI literate is going to not only make your job easier, but it's going to help you keep your jobs and potentially get more jobs and promotions. They say about 80% of employers are looking for AI literacy. Let's just let that settle in. 80% of employers look at a resume, and if you don't have AI literacy on there, you're not as strong of a candidate. It's wild. So AI capabilities so far. So I haven't really talked about the ins and outs of AI, what it can do, but it really does. It handles things like data entry, scheduling, grading. It customizes learning and work. It analyzes data. It helps people communicate. It predicts, it forecasts trends. It boosts creativity by that whole zone of proximal development where you're brainstorming, you're bouncing ideas off of them. Improves workflow. It makes things far more accessible with people with disabilities or language barriers. And it gives instant feedback. I would not be anywhere near as successful in my job right now if I didn't have AI. I would say that I probably, in the last 8 months, would have accomplished a fifth, maybe, of the work that I've done if it wasn't for AI. And that doesn't mean that I have put it into AI, do my job for me. All right, here you go, hand it in. There are issues when you blindly jump into AI. We know that there are lots of ethical issues, data privacy issues, dependency issues. And I've heard in between, AI is between 60 and 80%, and you are between 20 and 40%. You cannot have AI without HI, without human intelligence. AI is not the answer, it's the tool to get the answer. So it's always you plus AI. There are obvious privacy concerns. Right now, it's kind of the wild, wild west. And so there aren't a lot of like government policies and things like that when it comes to AI. So, things are going to change and we're going to get things a little bit more regulated as we go, but there are security risks. You don't want to put your social insurance number and your phone number and your birthday and your credit card number in there because the way AI works is it takes all of the data and it uses the data from all of the things, all of the internet, all of when you feed it information and it takes that. So yes, it will take what you what you put into it. Depending on what AI platform you use, there are some that don't, but it is also very biased. So when it comes to looking at all of the information that is out there, predominantly, generally, you are getting the opinion of a certain race and a certain gender. The white man has a louder voice in the world. And so for better or for worse, so when you are using AI, you're using the voice of whoever has the most information out there. So we know that there are some like visual AI programs that if you have a brush in a white hand, it will say this is a brush. If it's a black hand and it's a brush, it will say this is a gun. So that exists, and that is something that as a community we need to work towards bettering, and as companies we need to work towards bettering. So we're 20 to 40%, you really need to hold on to that there, and you need to go through and you need to know, recognize what is bias, which is another literacy that we need to start really looking at in schools, looking at how can you spot bias? What does it even look like? What can you do about it? Lack of transparency, there's ownership sometimes in content issues. Plagiarism, I mean, if you are in education, you know that write me an essay on Shakespeare and it's going to pop out an essay on Shakespeare. And what I like to say is the only reason I can use AI successfully in my work is because I already know how to do it. So I know what to look for, and I know how to look at that data, look at that information, and be able to critique it whether or not it is up to my standards or whether or not it is right. We cannot let the AI get smarter than us. We are still the ones that are responsible for all of the stuff. Again, it's just the tool. You wouldn't get behind the wheel of a car just because you know it can drive straight and close your eyes and just hope for the best. You might be driving straight and safe for a while, but eventually there's going to be a curve, there's going to be a deer, and all things are going to go bad. So you need to go into this with open eyes. Over reliance and dependency, I'm really interested to see the statistics on this as time goes on. I'm hoping that we can balance it out, but they say singularity is coming in within 6 years. So this is going to be a part of all of our lives, all the parts of our lives. And with over-reliance and dependency, I think about it that when we invented the car, we didn't forget how to walk. So we can still learn to walk, even though we're not walking everywhere. But will there always be that guy that's like, oh, I have to go to the store down the street, I'm driving? Yeah, there will. So the path forward, this is where you come in. The path forward, education, like I said, education prepares tomorrow's workforce. So schools, universities, really, they must be integrating AI tools into the learning process, teaching students how to use AI tools, and using the time that they have when using AI tools to invest in their students or invest in themselves. Looking at how can we critically look at bias, how can we look at AI critically and the outputs. Industry already relies on AI-ready talent. So if you have children, grandchildren, and they're not learning about AI at school, teach them how to use AI at home. Because it is one of those skills that are, if you don't learn it, you're going to get left behind real fast. And knowing that it's a symbiotic relationship between community and industry and education, we have to care about what's happening in the classroom. We have to care about our teachers. If we don't have healthy teachers, we don't have healthy communities. So, when you hear conversations about education, typically they're about students. Student first, student, student, student. There's no student without a teacher. So really reframing some of those conversations to take care of our educators through AI, through other means is really, really important. Okay, actually, now it's your turn. So this is the same QR code, and because I had such little time to discuss some of this, like we could talk about AI for the rest of our lives, but I have I'm giving you some homework. So there are worksheets, and I'm such a teacher, and information handouts for learning about AI tools. So when you leave today, go through these, learn what AI tools are out there, Pick one, pick two, and play. Go on ChatGPT. Ask it for recipes. Ask it for quiz games to play with your family. The other day, I asked it for, I'm going to Europe in a few weeks, and my friend that's going with me wants to go to a rave. So I asked, like, what do I wear to a rave? How do I behave at a rave? And so play with it. You can ask ridiculous questions. And then start thinking about, okay, how can I ask questions that are actually going to serve me? If you're a teacher, how can you build this into your lesson planning? If you are not a teacher, how can you build this into just your workflow and your productivity? Also, understand how AI works. That is super important. You don't have to get a computer science degree, but have a general understanding. This is not magic. So learn the basics of how AI works. Also, learn to use it safely and ethically. And again, learn how to keep the HI in AI. How can you keep the human element in these tools? And finally, your AI homework, there are steps that you can follow to support your adventure into AI. If you're not somebody that wants to dive in by yourself, you want a little guidance, that's your AI homework there. We'll walk you through some things. Every step that you take towards learning AI, using AI, spreading, dampening the misinformation, getting rid of that fear, the closer you are to really having a happier, healthier life. And I know that sounds really hyperbolic, but the power and the promise of AI really, truly is that. And that's all I have for you guys today. Are there questions? Yeah.
Oh, I have a bunch.
Oh, great. Awesome. Okay. I'll be able to answer hardly.
So I'm on the tech side. Like, I work for Finity Credit Union. We do a lot of co-pilot stuff. I guess my question from an educator side, like, for students, like, you obviously want to get them into AI and stuff like that, but where are the challenges with that in drawing the line of, not just doing everything in AI? Or, like, I guess it's getting into, like, the ethics and responsibility of it. Like, is that something that needs to be taught more? Is there going to be challenges that you see with, like, students just, again, write an essay about Shakespeare, and as they start to get smarter in how to craft away from scanning stuff,
Yep,
and that kind of whole thing, like, where are the challenges? You did a lot of promotion of AI.
Yay, AI, yes. So absolutely, yes. As a teacher, I saw that constantly. I think our teaching methods need to shift, and we need to look less on the product and look more on the process. Because the product is the product. They can do anything in with AI or ChatGPT, but it's the processes where that learning happens. So having checkpoints within the process, even not even marking the final product, that's absolute, like, you can do that. But making sure that the way that you are organizing your lessons and teaching, making them, I don't want to say AI proof, but making them personalized, active, hands-on learning, project-based learning, you're going to find that the reliance on that AI isn't there as much. I mean, it'll always be that devil on the shoulder. But for a lot of work, if you are doing it hands-on or personalized, you can't. It's useless. So that would be my thing: is moving away from traditional teaching, moving away from just using a textbook, just doing here's your assignment, talk to me in an hour. I think that's the answer. Yeah.
I just like to debate that one of your statements there because it upset me a bit.
Oh, okay.
You said that focus on the process and not on the product. And I have no problem with that, but how do you evaluate the process if you don't look at the product that you get out of them? So if we want critical thinkers, right, you teach the process of being a critical thinker, but you have to have some product that you look at that comes out of it. And so that's very important in my mind.
Yeah, I was being hyperbolic there for sure. Yeah.
You know, so anyhow, I didn't agree with that statement because I think the product is significant. The kid has to write an essay, or I shouldn't say kid, if the student has to write an essay. And about a certain thing, to me, what they would do is look at resources about this, and then they would look at that and say what I agree with, what I don't disagree with, and put it down in my product here. Not just take some AI stuff and plop it in there.
Right.
But that product is important because that tells me whether that student is critically thinking or not.
And I would say that they're probably equal importance. And I think right now our reliance on the product is 90% and the process is 10%, at least in my experience and in the world that I come from. And I think leaning more towards that process. And of course, yes, the learning outcomes do require you to have, to write that essay, to analyze that data. But when it comes to like learning, like watching that learning happen, a lot of that happens before they hand that paper in. And whether it's you hand that in and you read it and then they revise it with feedback, I mean, it's always with that process and it's a hands-on situation. So I absolutely agree with you. I think, yes, I was being hyperbolic. The product is important, but I would say that the process is equally important.
It's like you develop a vaccine, the process. You have all these wonderful processes, but the vaccine it produces yuck. And the processes are no good then, right? You have to change the processes.
And I would disagree with that too, because how much learning happens in mistakes?
Well, now that will come to change the process because of learning.
Yeah.
To make what you want to get out. Like there's a semi in the car. Hey, I'm a grade 7 teacher who teaches history and science. And I know that I've been out of education a long time, but I know that the pressure on teachers in terms of just evaluation and marking system and that.
Yeah.
So I declare my ignorance on AI. Like I have no idea totally what it is. I have no concept of it. So how does the grade 7 teacher, how does AI help that teacher in the marking of the essays and the other classes he has, and the demands upon him for report cards and evaluations and that sort of thing? So give me an example.
Great question. There's a lot of different areas that we could pull. Let's do like the grading of, let's do the grading of an essay. And essay grading takes forever. I'm teaching an English class right now, and so I have used AI to create my rubrics. And when I make the rubrics, they're pretty general because you know how you have to labor over every word and making sure that, like, how do you differentiate between a 3.5 and a 4? AI solves that problem for you, and it can give you details of this is exactly what you need to look for at this level based on the outcomes. So you can copy and paste your outcomes right in there, and it can create your rubric for you. So you know exactly when you're reading through it, you're able to say, yep, okay, sounds good. You're not guessing. It's very transparent. Another way that I like to use it is I will put paragraphs right in there, and I will say, like, find the errors in here. And I will go through, oh, okay, well, I didn't really realize that was an error, but yeah, you're right. So it validates some of my assessment, but it also supports some of my own gaps in my own understanding of, I can't possibly know everything about, either the content or even the writing style. So it fills some of those gaps as well. What I would never do is I would never copy and paste the essay, say, mark it for me, Kate. Oh, you got 30 out of 40. Kate, sounds good. Here we go. Because that's driving with your eyes closed. So you're always making sure, yes, I agree with this. And then it can allow you to give really targeted feedback. So if I've input that essay or that paragraph, and I know that there's word choice issues, I can say create a paragraph of feedback with this tone on these points and give the student 3 action items in order to support them to learn that skill better. And so for me, that would have taken me an hour or more to craft for that one student. I can pop it in there and it can be so targeted and so specific. And if it's not quite right, I can go in, I can change the prompt and kind of fix it. But now all of a sudden, where it was for me, I would have said, word choice, what about this word instead of this word? That would have been the feedback that I had the time and capacity to give that student. Now I can give that student a page of detailed feedback where they can take that and they can pinpoint exactly how exercises to and how to learn, how to do whatever it was, recognition of what went wrong and how to fix it. So that's one really great way that I've used it. And my students are so grateful because they're able to take and actually use the feedback, whereas that would have taken me days. And which, as a teacher, you don't have that. You don't have that time to write a page of feedback for every single student for every single assignment. When it comes to, say, comments or something for a report card, it'll help with comment banks. If you say, this student has this strength, this strength, this strength, but they need to work on this, it'll just word it for you in a way that is informative with a certain tone. Of course, always go through it and making sure that it's still, your sentiment. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Well, I'd have to see it, but yeah, they give you some idea of that, but until you drive a car, you don't have any concept of driving a car until you do it.
Right. And that would be like go to ChatGPT. That's, I would say, like your entry level, and just play and ask it to create a rubric. There's also a lot of AI tools specifically for teachers. Diffit. Does anybody use Diffit? Diffit. It can create content for you. So if you're looking for like a reading passage from reading level of grade 2 or university, like you can ask like explain to me the life of Tupac, and it will give you a list. I actually did that for one of my assignments, but and it will give you a reading passage with assignments that go along with it. So it really just streamlines all of those tasks.
Maybe you can ask it to remake that if we're going to grade 4 level reading.
Yes, you absolutely, yes, it can. Yeah, it would absolutely do that. Yep. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm just kind of wondering, like, what exactly is, like, when you say employers are looking for like AI skills, I think I'm just a little confused as to what that exactly means, because you pointed out like AI is 60% AI and 40% human intelligence, but is the human intelligence different, or is it any different from just being good enough at your job to know when the output is what you're looking for, or if it's
certainly part of it. Yeah, that's certainly part of it. And I would say
so, like,
AI literate.
How is that different from just normal job competency is my question.
I would say that if you are able to confidently talk about the AI tools that are out there and you've used them and you can explain how you can use them, if you can understand how AI works, if you understand how to use it safely and ethically, and you can understand how to balance your intelligence and AI intelligence, if you have the answers to those questions and know how to sort of play in that world, then I would say that you have AI literacy. Would you agree? Yeah.
I'll just ask one more.
Okay.
My greatest fear. You had the word bias on there.
Yeah.
And I recognize that. I'm not sure if you could substitute or whether you should go bias / truth. And that's one of my concerns out there, is that can be fed BS by AI. And if I'm not intelligent enough to know that, then I'm going to absorb that, right?
Yep.
Get myself into a whole bunch of trouble.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sort of thing. So that, there seems to be no control, I don't know if there is a control about, if you go to ask that question that you asked at the beginning there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you really agree with that, everything that person said? Then you consider that to be the truth, right? If I don't agree with all that, I can say, well, that, maybe not.
I
And
almost say that's a problem outside of AI though too. Like look at social media, look at
Yeah.
that. Like critical thinking is a skill that I feel like a lot of people have lost or has not translated well into the digital world. And I think that's all we're gonna say on that. So.
yeah.
But continuing with that, the AI has some small amounts of protection from that. That if one person tries to convince it that the sky is pink, if someone else asks what color the sky is, it's not going to tell it it's pink. Now, if hundreds of millions of people were to do that, they might be able to get it to start spreading that. But
Ask Gemini about blue on pizza.
Well, that's because it went to Reddit.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, there was an AI model that
Oh.
somehow had an error that it was saying that you should put blue on pizza from an old thing. And then it got traction and then it continually became a thing. So it got fed bad data and then that bad data kept coming over and over. And
Mm-hmm.
Let me jump in because I liked how you say it's a tool.
Yeah.
TV, Hollywood, media says it's an answer.
Right.
And people believe we're building a God.
Right.
And we are so far away from that. It's ridiculous. So there's 3 types of AI: narrow, general, and super intelligent. Narrow, you can do one thing and only one thing. That's where we're at right now. There's some tricks right now. Like ChatGPT, the only thing it can do is write grammar. That's it. The answers it's giving to you, it just went out and did a Google search.
Yep.
And turned it into a paragraph. So, and then there's general, which is AGI, which is the one that apparently, that's when Terminator starts. And the hype on that is just to raise money. We're decades away from AGI, though I hope the government starts making some legislation.
Yeah.
Please. And then when that general AI means that an AI can do anything you can do multiple intelligence. And once you hit that point, that means AI can create AI. And now you got super intelligent. We're a long ways, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But we've ran out of data. So when I did the MIT courses, at the beginning, they were talking about like how you allowed to use, you had to cite your information. And our professor was awesome. He's like, in the 70s, you went and you asked your dad, he didn't know the answer. He just made shit up. You wrote it in your essay, you got it wrong. Google came out, you didn't ask your dad, you asked Google, it made shit up, you wrote it down, you got it wrong. You go to ChatGPT, same bloody thing. So just make sure, just double check what you do. It's a tool, not the answer.
there was a Copilot course I took that gave the best summary for AI that I loved, where it said, we'll never write a first draft of something again with AI. And I think that's the way that I started looking at it.
Yeah.
It's a
Yes.
first draft, it's not a final product.
Yeah, because you need that 20-40% of you infused into that, using that tool.
Right
Just
now,
like building-
I used to is I do the draft myself, and I run AI, try and run it through AI, and they're improving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you can absolutely use it that way too.
It's like I know, like in our organization and stuff, there's the people that have it. It's like use it to refine emails and stuff, and use like a more professional setting.
When you want to say, OMG, what the hell were you thinking?
It
can change that.
Copilot and then have it summarize, and then the person who receives it summarizes the email in Copilot and sends a response back in Copilot, and who's really talking to you? So,
Well, now you can send your avatar to a meeting
yes, you can.
and it sends back out.
We turn that off.
So what this young fellow said about the sky being pink, that gives me some assurance. But if you ever convince most people that the sky is pink, that still doesn't bother me, because my stepfather went to his death believing they never landed on the moon. And so there is no absolute truth out there.
No, and I think, and when it comes to, at least with tools like ChatGPT, hallucinations do happen, and it makes things up that if you don't have that critical eye, it's also a very low risk, safe place to practice critical thinking as an adult and as a young person. Yes.
Yeah, my question is kind of, say, we're all teachers, we're in a staff room, and you've got a spectrum of people.
Yeah.
The early adapters, people that are dabbling, and others that think it's the devil.
Yeah.
How do you work with the people that think it's the devil? You say the word AI and they shut down, or
I don't.
the English teachers, let's call them.
I won't think. Honestly, I don't. I would focus on the early adapters and the people in the middle, and a lot of the times those people that are struggling at the end, you could beg and you could plead and you could give them it on a gold scroll, and because it's change, it's not going to happen. So I would say, just like any other new thing in education, any other new process, any other new anything, you're going to focus on the people that are going to do it. And I think at this point, to force people to do it isn't the right call. Because of that very thing. It's, if you think it's the devil, and there are people out there absolutely that feel that way, not you, but those people, you might be able to educate them, you might be able to show them and support them. Are they going to latch on and become, our AI keeners? Maybe.
If I were in a staff room, I'd probably be like one with the devil, because I don't accept change well. Sort of thing. A lot of times I'm totally against it. Let you walk with me.
Yeah.
Or let me walk with you. And the journey changes. Now, education is a pendulum.
Yes.
It never stays in the middle. It always goes to one extreme or the other. Either phonics is out and sight words are in, right? Or forget how to use a timetable, forget how to find the square root of a number, because we got calculators to do all that. This is not where education is going to end up, because this will change in a little while. It'll be a change again.
I'm going to challenge that.
There's comes a little bit of improvement all the time. So.
I'm going to challenge that quickly, because I agree with you right now. That's the way it's moving. But I think we need to approach education more as a science, and with data, and looking at how do people actually learn, and using the learning sciences and understanding what truly is scientifically best for the brain. And I think once we incorporate more of that learning science into education, we're going to stop seeing these swings, and we're going to start creating practices based on
I just shared 43 years of experience with you in education.
No, and I agree, because that is the way that things have been going. Yeah, absolutely.
And out of each one of the movements, there's been always something good that adds to education.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great conversation
Sorry.
about electric vehicles, because it sounds like me arguing with people.
I've gone way over.
Switch it up for the students, but I don't want to end this conversation. I thought it was fascinating. So after the students talk, let's mingle and continue. I think I've learned a lot just with that. So Ryan, take it away.
Thank you, everybody. You're gonna need this.
Oh, really? Oh.
Ryan, are you going to stand up and present, or have the students join you?
They will come up. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, they will. We'll pass the mic off. 1 second here. All right. Okay, so my name is Ryan Gustafson. I am an instructor and applied research coordinator at Southeast College. And we came up with this computer science class. And as Krista was talking, I realized like how much of her, some of her philosophies and stuff we designed into this class, as she was one of the ones that helped me develop it. But the idea was that we wanted to create a class where we taught computer science, computer programming, digital technology skills through real world projects. We wanted the projects to drive the learning, and we wanted to simulate a real world environment. And the reason we wanted to do this, there were some challenges that we saw. There wasn't any computer science training in rural communities. And there was limited digital technology training. You could maybe take a class on Word or Excel. Online training is often impersonal. It's challenging to find an online program where you have that one-on-one interaction with the instructor. A lot of times it's kind of, sent out to the void, and then you're there to accept it, and hopefully you understand. There's a lack of mentorship and support in those areas, and it just left this tech gap in the community. Chris was talking about skill gaps, right? And so for me, just coming back to that, when I took my computer science training, it was a lot of really theory-based training. You read a textbook, you did some assignments, you maybe got a little bit of feedback, and it wasn't that page of detailed feedback. It was the 84% good work, good background. Okay, I don't know how to get the other 16%, but thank you. And so, it was challenging, and there wasn't a lot of projects. There wasn't a lot of okay, well, how does this really work? I learned this algorithm for sorting stuff, but why do I need it? And so what we wanted to do is create a program that was here, local, and just really personalized learning, personalized to the student and personalized to a real project that had real value with real skills that the community wanted. And so we wanted to align those skills with the job market. If somebody wants a certain product in the community, in their business, and they enough to have somebody try and develop it, it's valuable to have students who have those skills to build it right here. And so we broke our course up into kind of 3 main modules. And I'm just going to go through this really quick so you can get to the students and hear about their projects. But we started off with kind of introducing these projects, working with our clients, and doing some onboarding and training. So teaching the students, some of the basic skills that we're going to be using. And one of the things we cover is how to use AI in a good way. How can we create prototypes really quickly to try something with AI? How can we determine when it's giving us hallucinations or false information? How can we verify that? How can we use it ethically? What is an appropriate use and what isn't an appropriate use? So that's some of the things we cover. We talk about how to collaborate on a project, some of those 21st century skills that or competencies that Chris was talking about. We talk a lot about collaboration, how to work together, how to communicate. The reason they're here doing presentations is because we want them to practice that communication. They can build a cool project and then share about it. We want to, critical thinking, like Patrick was talking about, that lost skill, right? We want people to be able to recognize, okay, AI gave me a terrible answer, or, whatever. But now think about, okay, I have some really basic tasks that I want AI to do. I want it to make a list because, lists are very straightforward. So it can make that list for me really quick. And I'm talking in a programming sense, but now I can think about the hard problem. It can do the really easy tasks for me because they've been solved 1,000 times more, millions of times. And now I can spend time thinking about the really interesting problems that I have. And so those are some of the ways we try and approach things. And so then we immediately go into project development. We start planning and building the project so students can learn right away from the project that they're working on. They learn some skills and then they immediately put them into practice. Or they learn by trying to practice something they don't know how to do. And so then at the end, we come to this point where they are able to give a presentation, reflect on what they've learned, create some documentation, and share their results. And so I'm going to talk about a few of the projects just at a very high level. So some of the students are going to talk about an Indigenous beating pattern digital app that for a local business. And we also have a solar panel data engineering project, which some students are going to talk about. And then one that we've done before, which we're not going to touch on today, is a group matchmaking application that we made for the ICE Rural conference, if people were there. And so I'm going to pass it off to the students. So Alistair and Obi are going to come up and talk about the solar project. So remember to, you're starting?
Yeah, I'm starting.
So you should be able to, I'll let you in there. You should be able to go to present mode down there. Make sure you introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Obi, and
I'm Alistair.
so we're here to talk about the solar project. So, at the college, Esteban College, so we noticed that the solar panels weren't given the efficient power output during the peak day daily activities. So we picked on the project just to make sure that we have to like harness the information from the solar panel and then compare it and then with the weather information, then we can be able to like tell, okay, this is what this what's happening, and then with that we can be able to like deduce what's really happening in the system, and then also inform the school that can help them boost your productivity, also save money in terms of power bill. So here is this, the process flow. So first of all, we're going to be collecting data and then storing them in a database. And then the next step is going to be analyzing this data. And then we're going to be presenting them in a in a dashboard where we get to see we're going to be comparing the temperature, daily temperature with the daily power output of the solar panel. So the data we're going to be analyzing the daily performance, which is from the solar grid, and then the environmental data, which is going to be basically the temperature, the cloud cover, and also then the secondary operational data, which is going to be like is there any faults in the system. Also, our dashboard is going to give us alerts saying that okay, this is also going to be affecting our power outputs. So this is like a schematics of what we're going to be doing. So the data comes from the solar panels, and then it gets logged into a smart logger, which is a device that just picks up the daily output of the panels, and then we get it saved using a server into the database, and then we can then pull it externally using a computer, and then have it displayed on the dashboard. Also, here's using the weather API. We can also retrieve the day-to-day data from the weather and have it plugged in. The pie chart on the right, the top right corner, gives us the daily percentage of the cloud cover, winter the snow cover and other stuff. So and then the humidity for the day, we get it when we have it plug it out, so that way we can then be able to tell okay how the temperature of that day is affecting our daily power output, knowing that the sunlight is an essential part when it comes to what the grid reads. So here is also what we have on the dashboard from what we got from our smart logger. So this just gives us an idea of what the daily activities of our solar panel. And here's a short video that tells you, like, if you look at the top left corner, you can see that this is the reading for that day, which is about 6 kilowatt hour. And then it peaks also on the 26th at 3 kilowatt hour. And but also you can also notice that usually the peak hour is around noon time, which means that that's when the sun is at its peak. meaning that which tells me that okay, so the school is using the daily consumption. Usually, the daily average maximum consumption is usually at noon time. So this is just like a little representation of like how I intend to plot my temperature with my daily power activities, that usage, energy usage. So he's going to be talking about the challenges and then the next step forward.
So first of all, the smart logger, while it is very good for collecting the data, it is terrible to connect with. We spent a couple of weeks going back and forth with IT and trying to find ways to connect with it, which led us first to the web platform that connected, but that was slow, often wouldn't respond, and for a while the website just wouldn't work at all. Which led us going back to IT, where we went back and forth with them for a little while, trying to find the right permissions to ask for. And eventually that led us to a Raspberry Pi, because that works very well for the storage, that it's about the lowest power usage we could find to do so, and works 24/7. Which, leading into that, a Raspberry Pi is basically just a miniature computer. It's about the size of a bank card, and it's how we did the storage. And we're running it off of a Linux terminal, which was a bit of a learning curve. Yeah, so that leads into some of our future plans with this, which my first thought was kind of a more streamlined display to have in the college. That my idea was kind of to have the 7-day forecast, but instead of weather data, it's our solar data, which we can use that as well to extrapolate the future data for the solar panels and see how they'll work. Which with that, we can do efficiency calculations as well to see, for example, if we clean off all the dust from the solar panels, how much more efficient they are. And from there, we can see if it's worthwhile to do it every week or if we should only be doing it monthly. And over time, we'll also get more data, which we can use to continue to evolve our data collection.
Additionally, this is a continuous process. So as we speak right now, the smart logger is retrieving data, and we're plugging it. We're also plotting it in our network right in the college. Thank you.
We still have this too, but
yeah. Any questions?
Is weather data for the past, was that included in there? How are you getting it?
So like we have an weather API.
Okay.
So you just grab the past and the current weather data.
So it's just going off of like where my calendar.
Yeah.
So you little bit of history. I was teaching over at the college when we put the solar panels in. So it was interesting that we did that, and now you guys are following up on that. I did attend a Weyburn course that was put on. I took a 2-week course in solar power, and I took the course with some contractors in Weyburn on how to install solar panels and all of that. So that was interesting to hear this. Also the I'm going to say the angle
yeah,
on the slope with the winter time and with the sun in the summertime is very important to achieve your output on solar panels, and making it at that certain angle that you need in order to achieve maximum output is very key. But thank you for your good information on it. So that's nice to hear.
Thank you.
When you guys start calculating efficiencies, would you look at doing like an alarming system where like someone could get an now, like it was below a certain.
Yeah,
threshold?
we can have an alarms like something like a little like on the dashboard. We're gonna have like some like a meter that tells us like if it goes below this threshold, they have to like send out an alarm like a text message or something like saying that it's and if it's a
Share this, Seneca's college. Could you buy them some servos for the panels so that they can move? Is that what you guys were just whispering about?
For sure.
Okay, cool.
any more questions?
Awesome.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, so next we have a short video here from our client. So I will just share this here. So you will meet Jill.
Tanshe, Jill, Tishinakishin. Hello, my name is Jill. Thank you everyone for being here today. I am sorry I cannot be here in person, but I am very grateful and humble to be given this opportunity and collaborate with our computer science students. I am a proud Métis citizen from Saskatchewan, balancing life as a dedicated mother of three and a student advisor at Southeast College. In addition to my career, I am an emerging beading artist, passionate about creating intricate fringe earrings. This art form is deeply rooted in my culture, and I am committed to sharing the traditional methods of this art with everyone. This evening, you'll learn more about my startup business, Ma Fili Rasad, which means my daughter's beads in miniature. We'll share the incredible progress our computer science students have made with developing a beading app and helping me find solutions to my challenges as a beading artist. Nia Ernst Dwyer, my story. Judy, awa ma tante. This is my Aunt Judy. She introduced me to beading as a child and took me to powwows. I was fascinated with the dancing and beautiful beaded regalia. Eventually, she handmade me a jingle dress where I danced proudly at the powwows. My aunt gave me a safe place, something I didn't have in my own home. When we would be together, I felt peace and loved, and a cultural connection. Beading brings back those memories and that emotional connection. I want to preserve this traditional art for all our children. I want to provide a safe space for my children to connect with our roots and experience the calmness of beading. Recently, I felt a sense of isolation and longed for a community of Indigenous beading artists where I can find training and cultural connection to fill that void. But I had been so disconnected from my culture, I had trouble finding those resources. I turned to the online community where I found even more challenges with learning how to bead. Monet with a shoe, challenges. I felt disconnected from my cultural roots, which impacted my learning experience. Limited access to traditional resources and community practices made it difficult to learn beading techniques and understand their significance without guidance from knowledge keepers. Navigating tutorials alone was overwhelming and time consuming. I had so many questions and could not find answers. I was missing my traditional way of learning through elders and storytelling. Indigenous colors, symbols, and elements have sacred meaning. I wanted to learn about them and make sure I was representing them respectfully in my own beading creations. Our beading app will be a groundbreaking innovation as the first Canadian owned, North American owned, and most importantly, the first Indigenous owned beading app. Current apps restrict artists' cultural creativity. Our app will make it easy to design custom patterns or even select from a diverse library. Today, beading artists often spend days or hours creating patterns on graph paper, hand drawing and coloring each circle. If a mistake is made, they start over. Our app will transform this process, reducing it to just hours or even minutes, and provide a seamless solution for a beading artist to express their creativity efficiently and accurately. Here is an example of a completed rosette or medallion and fringe earrings. Our computer science students have already solved many technical challenges in creating this app. I can't wait for you to see their progress and the amazing work they've done on this project. The most beautiful aspect of this app is that it will allow us to curate content, connect experienced beading artists with beginners, and create an online community where this art will be preserved for future generations. This is where culture meets technology. I appreciate you being here today. If you'd like to follow our journey, please scan the QR code. We have lots of fun on our media pages, and it's a safe space for everyone. Marcy, thank you.
Should I pass these around?
Oh, okay, sure.
So just these are some series that I actually made at Jill's class that she taught. If you guys want to pass it around, take a look and get an idea of what we're talking about here.
Jill presented at the Saskatchewan Indigenous Economic Development Network in Saskatoon on Thursday.
Okay.
The bead thing, and it was huge. It's a massive thing.
Hi, my name is Negan, for those who don't know me, and I also work here at SET with Gord. So before I just started, I wanted to just mention that English is my second language. So if I'm gonna make a mistake, just forgive me and ignore it. So with this project, I wanna talk about our user interface and user experience, UI and UX, and our just design process. Okay, and I'll just make sure. Okay, so through this project, we just wanted to honor Indigenous peoples and their rich culture and heritage. We wanted just to make sure that we can like preserving and sharing the beading traditions for the future generations, like embracing innovation to keep the arts alive and celebrating the richness of Indigenous culture. And just to make sure that we can represent their voices, their stories, and their culture like in a respectful way. So Jill already like with the video mentioned her barriers, but like as she said, like she felt like a significant disconnection from experienced elders and experienced beaders to making the traditional beading patterns, and also like disconnection from the supplies and authentic stores, like community cultural groups and like for local group beading groups. So we wanted just to make sure that we can fill those gaps with this application. So before that, I start our whole design process. I wanted to mention like what is UX and UI design. So UX as user experience is how a user interacts with a product or service, and UI or user interface is how those like those visual elements that those makes interactions possible for us. Like rather it can be like a real life product or a digital product. So like in the first picture, you can see like there are two doors with one of them with push handle, another one with pull handle. So you can see if their design didn't match with their functionality, it can make the user confused. So and in the second picture, you can see just a normal like meeting Zoom call screen. And so like UX and UI designers think about how they can put those like icons and symbols for you just to make it easy for you to follow. Like when someone is speaking, like you can see the orange line, or like they put the like camera icon first or the video second. Just they know that people usually go for like the camera first and the video second. So we started our process with our user research, just to know and focus about their pain points, their challenges, their goals, and their habits. So one of our main problem was that the existing digital bidding application don't allow users enough customization to create their own and unique personalized patterns. We also we created a survey with almost 20 questions, and we had a great response over 150. So as I mentioned, there I put like two of the questions that I thought aligned with my design process. Like we asked them how you can create bidding patterns and how long they can take to create for you. And they mentioned that mostly they created with graph papers, and it can take like hundreds of hours or days for them, just for like simple like those earrings that you saw. So you can imagine that how can difficult it will be for them just to for like those earrings. Another one was like what features would be most desirable to you in a digital bidding application. I mentioned, like the ability to customize the bidding templates with their different colors, with different patterns and different beads. So yeah, and so these are our very first wireframes for the application, just to like brainstorming our ideas, like what we want to add. And we came up with like very first design. uh, this is not a final like design, it's going to be changed, of course. So the first thing is like many other apps, like you want to log in or create your account. To create your account, you can put your name, email, password, and phone number. It goes to like a main page, so you can tap and you start your design. We wanted to add features like the homepage, example, setting, and patterns. So you can here like tap here and convert a photo. So mostly the existing apps don't have an option to we can convert your photo from your library or from your gallery. So it can be any picture of your gallery, like if from a flower or something else. So you can convert it here and redesign it again. And you can start another design or delete your current design. And we want to another option that we want to add specifically because the others don't have is like save your file as a like maybe PDF file or a Word file or even the CSV file, like anything. And another thing, like for the patterns, that is our main goal, is to put like different kind of beads. So you can just choose one of them, and it goes again to your design page, and you can just start your design. And as like here, I put like icons for like you want to delete your design, or you can just view it in a like for better looking and save your design. And here like in bottom, like you can see, you can choose like for different colors or like erase it, or you can add a text meanwhile, or reverse it, or even like measure it if you want. And like examples, we want to add different options, like if you want to redesign or recreate it again, or like change the colors if you don't like it, or redesign it in a way you want to. And so in our setting, here are the options that I wanted to start with. The most important one, that is video tutorials, that Jill's mentioned in her video. That because in our survey, we understood that most of the people, they learn bidding by themselves. So we wanted to show to others that if they are new to biddings, they can just watch it and learn how to do it. And like, so with this, you can, with a link, you can recommend to a friend for the app. And just for our social, I mean, for Jill's social, like her Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And we have a like option for the explore the community, so you can share your ideas or thoughts with others, and or share your designs even. And just like a part for about us, so which means like it goes to Jill's website and just about her story and about like the story behind it for this application. So when I talk to Jill about like what is her vision for the user interface and how she wants to the application looks like, she mentioned that a lot about elements and the symbols of the like indigenous peoples, the First Nations and Métis. So and like in a way that is respectful and like in a responsible way. So like using the color orange and just representing the every child matters. Another thing was like a red sash and floral beadings, as you can see. And the last one is like the infinity symbol as a kind of like a unity and continuity design. And the last one is, so this is the hardest one, the medicine wheel that it can show the cycle of life and for all beings, the 4 directions that is of the medicine wheel represents for like individual, like mental, physical, emotional, and this sacred path that and the earth's boundary and the knowledge of universe that represent all the knowledge of the universe, the holistic nature of health. That means the like the symbolize how the health is holistic and the each factor is like matter, and the importance of the community that tell all of the people that are matter in this world, and the importance of reflection that like life is like a rose with the thorns representing life's journey, and the rose representing the May times in life, and we are gonna die and only bounce back again. And that's it. Thank you for listening. And these are Jill's socials. So we would be great if you follow her and support us. Yeah. If you have any questions.
I do have a question about the responses from your survey. You talked about, I know that it's really important for Jill to get responses from the authentic community. How were the responses?
Actually, they were great. Like, so it was important for us, the demographic, and like for the creating the app, like because so like in Southeast Saskatchewan, she said like had a disconnection in Southeast Saskatchewan from the elders and the people, the community. So so we shared it on Reddit and some Facebook reading groups, and we had a great response with that, and they all involved, and mostly I don't have the complete like survey, but as you can like see here, for this question we have almost like 79 responses for that, and or like here and 127 for that. And but yeah, it was great actually.
But in terms of the number of people of Indigenous background, it was pretty high.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he was almost
It was like 2/3.
Yeah, 2/3 of them were like Indigenous. Yeah, and mostly.
So really authentic.
Yeah, yeah.
We actually had a really great age demographics. We had a wide range of ages, wide range of education, a lot of different Indigenous backgrounds, and a lot of different range in experience, from really new beaters to very experienced beaters with like more than 10 years experience beating. People that would sell beating at different craft fairs and powwows, and other people who just did it for fun and relaxation and cultural connection. So we had a great response to our survey.
Yeah.
How close to completion are you? Like, is the app created and done? How close are we to being on board?
So Chris is gonna talk about it. I was just for the design part, but yeah, no, we had like a great process for the like back end. So I'm gonna let to Christian to talk about it.
It works.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Just hold it.
Yeah.
Hold it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Has there been any discussion about possible cultural appropriation?
Sorry? No, I couldn't.
Has there been any discussion about possible cultural appropriation?
She is Indigenous, so it's okay.
For me?
She is Indigenous and it's okay. And she's been working with the elders to get permission and what they would like. But yeah, a non-Indigenous person in Hollywood could make some
Yeah, that's the whole point.
It's always gonna happen. It's just,
But
Yeah.
it's a big concern of hers.
I'm sure it
She's
is.
very involved carefully about how she represents and meetings and all.
Yeah.
So she's tricky.
Well, that's good, though.
Yeah.
Good for myself.
Okay. You wanna go?
I've got your earrings back here in the corner over there.
Yeah, well, that's good.
I'm just here on the table.
Sounds good, thanks.
All right, so I guess this is a good follow-up with Jill and then with Negan's presentation. So I'm Christian Quinn. I'm one of the students working on this beating app here, and I'm going to show you a look into kind of how the development process is going right now and our first prototype and how it's all coming together. So you've heard the vision from Jill and what she wants, the features she wants in the app in her little video there. And for Negan's, you can kind of see the experience we want to deliver the users and just a glimpse into what the final product's going to look like. It's still far from, what we really want it to be, but it's a start. And I've been tasked with trying to make this vision into a reality, coding it and trying to make this one of a kind application that Jill's looking for. So turning this into a fully fledged app with everything that she wants, it's going to take a while. It's a lot of work. And with this, we've only been able to only tackle a few of the core features. And with the short amount of class time we had with this term, initially, after hearing the initial pitch from Jill, we decided, okay, what are the core features we need to put into this app? How can we make a MVP or a minimum viable product? And what are the essentials we need to show people that this is something worth getting excited about? And we selected a few of these features that are on here. What makes a beating app a beating app? So we kind of had a color palette, being able to click on a cell or drag on it to fill it up with color, a scalable grid, having a clean modern UI. That was a big one for Jill. She didn't want it to look like Minesweeper. Yeah. And that's what most of the existing ones look like right now. And having some stitch styles that the user can pick from, they can easily have presets to choose from will be one of the features as well. And one of the biggest things we want to do is have the functionality to have multiple types of stitch patterns on the same grid. And existing apps right now can't do this. Something like this here, where you have the brick stitch on top and you have this type of stitch on the bottom. You can't do that with the existing solutions. So one of our first tasks was to choose a programming language to build this project with. And there's a lot of different languages you can choose from. They all have their own pros and cons. But for our situation, we chose Dart here with Google Software Development Kit, which is called Flutter. And we thought this would be the best option because it's modern. And one of the big things she wanted as well with this app is to have it be accessible to all different types of people. So that would be, this is a great one for cross-platform development. So we can have, if you have an Apple phone, if you have an Android on tablets, or if you want to go on the web as well, hopefully we can have it be accessible in all of those options so people can learn to beat from anywhere. So by the time we already got to this point though, with the initial planning and choosing a language, it was already pretty much the end of October. And that only gave us about a little over a month to come up with something to showcase by the end of this course term. So the problem is that I had no experience with the selected language we chose, admittedly. But yeah, so how are we going to come up with something, have something up and running by December? And actually, I actually added this today because I thought it'd fit the theme pretty nicely with this little event here. And that would be to introduce like the concepts that you were talking about earlier with using AI to speed up the process. Because as cool as it would be to say that with this thing I'm about to show you, I did this from the ground up, I did this from scratch, I didn't. A lot of it was with ChatGPT. And at first I was kind of like, should I really tell people I was like just doing ChatGPT? And
Actually, in hindsight, looking at what I've been able to create with this, I did use a lot of ChatGPT, but the learning that I got from it is actually pretty evident once you look back. And I kind of want to show how I did it. So, given the month we had, it would be pretty impossible to come up with something working, given I had pretty much no experience other than a couple programming languages learned from high school and some general knowledge. So it would be pretty hard to do on my own from 1 month of that. So I'll just give some examples of how I used AI to actually speed up the process. So Ryan and I came up with a solution to one of the big problems, which is the multi-stitch grid. And that would be to have the circles or the beads be placed in a certain way that would allow the beads to have the freedom to be placed in this type of stitch style or just like this. So this is the logic we kind of came up with and what I began working towards. So around this time, this is also when I tried learning the basics of this language and like the basics. So I wouldn't be able to do the something as complex as something like this on my own. So this is where ChatGPT came in. So I was able to test one of the core features right away, and it was here just like that. And I can see how it would work and how we could add on more things to make this into a more complete application. So I was able to work up to this point here, and it's exactly what we wanted it to look like. They look more like beads now, and you can see that we can have multiple stitch patterns. And actually realize something at this point, that we could actually do this in a better way. And just as fast as I was able to test and develop this with AI, I was able to come up with a better solution as fast or even faster, I'd say. So I thought, why not have just a regular grid like the other beading apps and have the user be able to customize each row so they can offset the grids and basically have the freedom to customize the grid to their liking. And then I popped that into ChatGPT, and you can see here, it's more of a traditional grid, but you're able to use the buttons, left and right buttons, to change the rows. You can make your own grid. And this is just a good starting point. Like, this might not be the final solution. This might not be the best way to do it, but it's a good starting point. And this is what we decided to stick with for the current prototype. So yeah, it really showcases how AI can be an important tool for a modern developer. And if used right, it can be a great way to learn, because I was able to come up with an app or have something running, but at the same time, I was also learning how everything works, because you can't just tell ChatGPT, okay, make this beading app exactly how I want it. You have to be able to take the small features that you want and then figure out how you're going to put them together in order to make the vision that you want. So yeah, and one of the best things I think was being able to test one solution to a problem and then quickly being able to test another one and then pivot to that in just a short time frame. So here's just where is it here? A video. You can see the development so far. Oh, could we go in here? Oh, would somebody be able to log into their, maybe yours or the Tech Hub?
Is it just not?
It's only on Google Drive, I think, for this one. I'm not so sure.
You're in, I think. Yeah. Yeah, you're in. Darn. Do you have anything else? It's just PowerPoint?
I could quickly do it as well, I'm pretty
Okay,
sure.
okay.
Mail's public now. Oh shoot, I have a. Okay, actually, maybe I can do this. I changed it too. I was like, is it this one? I hope it's this one. If it give me a prompt. Nice.
There's scotch in the tub right hand.
Okay, here we go. Oops. Okay, so you can see here that that first prototype I had, or would I have to drag it? There we go. All right, the first prototype I had, just being able to simply place a circle in a grid. And I wasn't able to do the logic that me and Ryan came up with yet here. But here we were able to do it, and you can see that it works. So you can have them in a brick stitch fashion there. And then this was basically what I was able to get to with that. And you can see it's the same thing. You can place it down. You have some freedom there to do different types of stitch styles. Then this is what the app looks like right now. An update. So you can see I started to implement a bit of the design from Negan's pictures there. See the patterns here, you hit the plus sign. You start a new design. And this is what it looks like right now. So you can see at the top there, there's a toolbar. You have the palette there. You can choose different colors for the beads. You can also have an eraser tool. And you're able to clear the grid as well if you need to. You can see clicking it, you can fill the things, you can drag it. You can also erase it, same thing, you can click and drag in the different colors as well. You can just quickly clear the grid as well. Then something else here, just allowing the users to set the size of the grid so they can have it as big as they need to, because I know some beading projects, they can be enormous actually. And then at the bottom here, you have presets, just popular stitch styles that we have, just a few there for now. Different variations, just allows them to have it set in a certain way. And here's the thing I was talking about, you can customize each row. And the user has the freedom to basically have it however they want. It won't be supporting every single stitch style right now, but we have one of the main ones down actually, so that's good to have. That's a bit more. So yeah, you're able to see the idea up to the design process and planning, and then being able to develop it and have an early working version here. You can see here one of Negan's designs, early designs, and then what we have right now. You can see that there's still a lot more things to implement, like the community and other preset designs, user logins, but that's for later. That's why it's quite a big project. And then you can see just how we were able to solve this problem as well. Like this is one of the main problems we wanted to fix, and we can do it in the app right now. So that's pretty much it. So the future of this app is hopefully going to be continued to be developed by students, and hopefully we can get more people knowing about this project, how exciting it is, and just the course as well, and just create something exciting for a lot of different people. So this is a pretty big thing for not just the beading community, Indigenous people, but also, you know, Estevan, the Southeast, and what we can do. So looking forward to seeing where it goes. That's pretty much it. Probably sign out as well.
Any questions?
Yeah.
What do you think will be the biggest challenge with the app?
Biggest challenge? I'd say it would be having one of the features, or so far from what I can think of, one of the features she wants is to be able to have a database of the different beads, because there are different suppliers for the beads, and then it's kind of a universal thing. And she wants to have it so that if you have if you make a design, it can track which beads you used, how many beads, what color, the sizes, and then it'll give you basically like a sheet of what you need to buy, and then exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that too. And for yours over there?
Yeah, were these designed on that app already? Or?
No.
So yeah,
Yeah,
Jill
I think
had,
Ryan.
for the class that she made, she had some designs already done for us, and so, but it was one of those things where, you know, we had a big piece of paper that were colored, and then she photocopied them, and I mean, those are little tiny earrings, but people make great big, you know, art pieces that, you know, like Megan shared, can take hundreds of hours to color by hand, and what if you make a mistake, like.
Yeah.
I don't know much about beading, but some of the diagrams of patterns that I've seen were like circular.
Yeah, actually, that's my first time seeing it, so I didn't know that was a
Jill
thing.
actually mentioned that today.
Oh, okay, that's why.
I was expecting that to be the hardest thing, was to figure out the
Yeah, that's
That, yeah, I'd say so as well, because I don't know how to do that. That's weird. But
she mentioned that today, and I was like, okay, that's next class.
interesting. That's for the future.
The students experience what it's like to run a real software client where a client tells you after you've done the work.
Exactly.
But you all are one up
Any other questions?
So well done.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Thank you.
I think like when the Innovation Council started a few years ago, like before I showed up, I think they decided they wanted the economic development another way to create industries and jobs. And then when we jumped in here and started it going, we realized if you take up until this, the Trans-Canada Highway, right across the province to the American border, from Alberta to Manitoba, there was no place an adult could get an education in computer science, and fought hard against senior levels of government to prove that we need this. You guys just affirmed we were right. So we now have these guys not leaving our community, and we have new companies that will hire hopefully you guys and others. So I feel like going up to Mo's house and saying knock, 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 see? So anyways, thank you guys for coming this much.
And just as one real last plug, so we're going to keep running this class, and people can keep taking it. We're going to run one from January to April. It's Tuesday and Thursday nights for 4 hours, and we try to be as flexible as possible around people's schedules. It costs $500, and we give a $300 bursary to people who complete. So we try to make it really affordable, really flexible, and the whole point is to meet people where they're at. So, you know, Negan wanted to learn design, and so that's where she focused her energy for that project. And you know, Alistair was all about wanting to learn about electrical solar panels, and you know, that's where he dove in. And so, you know, depending on where you learn and the projects we have, we want to find that match and really personalize the experience for you. So if you're interested, or you know someone who's interested, please send them our way and check it out. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Ages or?
We flexible. I think we kind of talked about like 16 is kind of the earliest. We want people to have, you know, we want to be able to tap into some of those high school students, but you know, have some maturity and you know, some basic understanding before, you know. So that's kind of the soft age cutoff, and I mean to infinity.
John, you can sign up.
Yeah, come on out. You can carpool with me.
I have a 77-year-old programmer and a 65-year-old programmer.
Awesome job, Ryan. Good job.
So yeah, that's That's our night. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Good job, you guys. Alistair and Foley, I didn't get a